Welcome to the Pantheon Plus Rewind. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of the Rewind. If it's your first time here, we gather at this time every week to discuss all the recent news and juicy bits surrounding the upcoming MMORPG Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. Other than news, we focus on a large portion of our podcast to kind of talk about what the community is saying out there in the social media universe. We scour Twitter, Reddit, forums, Discord, and more to kind of get to the root of the important or fun conversations going on around the game. The last couple weeks have really been a doozy with all the footage coming out from the evaluation build and also all the conversation that's followed. We've been talking a lot about it. However, this week we get back to a little bit of normal. So with that, let me introduce you to the only elf that I will ever spend copious amounts of times with, my partner in crime, Theric. How's it going, buddy? Have you gotten any rest now that we're past the evaluation build? But I know that it's not all super happy times over there right now, is it?
Yeah, well, the week started pretty good. I mean, like you said, the videos, the content was out there. We were having a great time. So many conversations. Like I've never felt like so people want to talk to me as much as they did this week because I was getting pings left, right, and center. So it was busy. I didn't mind it, but And then later in the week, I decided to act my age a little bit and threw out my back, which sucks because I had to miss a few days of work, sort of dealing with a back injury. But and these things take time to heal, so you just got to be patient and trying to keep my spirits up. Which having good Pantheon content is part of that, so I try to just focus on this stuff. But sometimes you just can't help it. Your age just sort of creeps up and smacks you on the ass and says, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're nearly 45." So that is what it is.
It seems like that 40. Everybody I know when 40 hits, I got a couple more years. Then I'm gonna be there with you.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Oh, geez. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. We were talking earlier about me throwing my back out at work, being an idiot a long time ago, and it sucked. So we all wish you the best. I'll speak for the community here. We all hope you feel better. We're crazy impressed you're warrioring through this, especially as a ranger. Usually you'd think a ranger would just fall over and die, but you're fighting through this.
Rangers and back injuries don't go well together. You're right.
So let's move on so we don't keep you here all day. This week's adventuring party we always got to talk about, right? So we have Aaron, which I so want to call him Aaron, which I'm gonna Aaron, the Archive Monk. Crow Singing, the Halfling Druid. Sparrow, the Elf Druid. Bounty Code, the Human Paladin, and Stands in Fire, the Dark Mere Cleric. If you want to join the party next week, make sure to give your future Pantheon race and class in the chat after you donate so we can add you. And as always, a huge thank you to all of you who choose to support us this way. It's super appreciated. We've talked about that quite a bit. We're still not great at how to thank you guys for this. It's something we kind of just blush and say, "Oh, thank you." Don't know what else to say.
Just gratitude, just express gratitude and understand that it doesn't, you're not, it's not taken lightly. It's definitely taken with the appreciation that we have. So awesome. Yeah. Thank you.
So before we jump in, we always like teasers. I like teasers, Derek. I throw them out on Twitter all the time and Discord anytime I can, even when I'm not supposed to. I just like teasers. So since we like teasers, we're going to give you a reason to stick around today. So stick around for a really fun announcement that will reveal a lot of really cool things about this year's Dungeon Group Draft at the end of the show. So with that, it's time to go.
Let's go time.
This week in Visionary Realms news and notes. All right, so we haven't talked about Twitter for VR in the last couple weeks, or at least last week, because of everything going on. So let's get back to normal here. This week we have two different questions to go through, and we'll be reading community responses to them. So the first one here is, would you rather kill an innocent NPC for a good loot item and take a faction hit, or let them be and acquire the loot via other means?
That's a good question.
Yes. So first is Chobinhood, who's been on here quite a bit. He says, well, I would never kill an innocent NPC. And honestly, I don't even like killing things that aren't already kill on sight to me. There are some items that should only be obtainable through dirty means. Make it more morally acceptable to acquire for a kill on sight faction, but doable for a trader. So he doesn't really say what he would do, just how he wants it laid out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they've got standards, like only kill on sight stuff. Like you never attack something that's neutral or just indifferent towards you. Like that's a pretty high standard. So,
well, I still remember you guys standing there watching me fight the guard. So,
yeah, that was a lot of fun, actually.
Next up is Oh, I always say her name right. Why am I messing it up? Anyway.
I'm not even going to help you. I'm just going to let you go for it.
I got it. Anyway. I didn't say it right now. See this? I've always said her name right. Of course, I mess up now. Anyway, she says, I would acquire it via other means. I'm really hoping faction carries a lot of clout in this game, so a hit to anything that I've painstakingly built up will give me serious pause. Sure, you could build it back up later, but at what cost in the interim? Mm-hmm. Dan Scholl says, kill NPC, because I could use the loot to farm the faction back 100. Oh, yeah.
Smart.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah. Crowsinger says, even when it doesn't appear that I'm role-playing, I'm still trying to immerse myself in the world. Loot is great. I love loot, but I freak out even if I accidentally kill an innocent NPC. Oh gods, I didn't mean to click. Can I heal you?
That's exactly how I felt when I was talking about that story last week with the Spriggan, when I accidentally clicked the attack button and I was like, no, I'm so sorry. Please don't kill me.
JJ says, I plan to play a Dire Lord, blood for the blood god. So there you go.
There you go. All in.
Yeah, Alicera says, faction hit, and then 3 oh no faces, basically. Can't have that. LOL, I'd rather get it another way. Core Chamber says, take the hit. I'm an outcast. Basement RPG, who recently just wrote a couple articles for Pantheon Plus. Basement RPG says, that depends on the faction and how much faction affects my gameplay. If it's a faction I've been working to improve, I'd seek out other means if possible. If the item is good enough and there are no other means, well, hopefully that faction can be repaired.
So the item is king, right? Like, if it's good enough, that's the only deciding factor. It depends on how good the item is.
Yep. Balorni says, I believe the faction hit should be different based on a character's alignment. For a necromancer to kill an innocent should just feel like normal, so low faction hit. As opposed to a paladin killing an innocent should be nearly unforgivable, a very big faction hit. It's an interesting thought process.
Yeah, I think Nathan Napalm would agree with that one. You remember when we were playing and he was big on doing a quest to kill an innocent, as a Dire Lord. And he's like, this doesn't feel good. I'm a paladin. I don't do things like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that would probably be, but then at the same time, like if you're betraying evil, then maybe you should take a bigger hit. You can't just be all positive to be evil. So
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Verano says, I would leave the NPC alone. From what it sounds like, there are other ways to get the loot. Even if there wasn't a faction hit, I'd rather go the more peaceful route anyway. Well, I responded like, did somebody say loot or something like that? Like loot all the way. Eventually, whoever I kill will get over it. I'm sure. So
they'll get over it when they're dead.
Yeah, or their friends or whoever.
Yeah.
I'm going for the loot, man. If it's a sweet item, you guys can all stand back and watch me just like you did that guard. I'm taking it out.
Nice. Yeah, this is a good question. I like this category that Kelson has got, this would you rather sort of category now going here. I think it's kind of cool. And I was thinking about this and I'm like, you have to sort of look at it from how innocent is any NPC. I mean, they got it from somewhere, right? Like they must have killed somebody to get this item, or it was passed down from somebody. Yeah, right. They who knows, they're not that innocent. So I'm just going to rationalize it to myself and say that maybe they murdered several innocents themselves. And
you're going to give them their own backstory.
Yes, I'm giving them a backstory and I'm using that as my rationale. So I can take vengeance for those people that were murdered by this evil NPC and, circle of life. I get a beautiful, longbow out of it. And
what if it's like a ranger, like a really important ranger out in the forest?
Well, then they have killed a Spriggan and deserve to die. So we're going to go with that.
They told a lie once. So I'm going to kill them for their loot.
Right. Exactly. They've done something wrong. I'm sure I can find something on these people.
Yeah. So check their Twitter, like from 5 years ago. Probably find some. Yeah.
Dirt,
wow, Theric, I'm surprised you're going to rationalize for the loot. What, are you Are you spending too much time with me?
Probably. It's probably exactly what's happening.
Oh, geez. All right. The next one here is in-game religion. Do you typically align your character with a religion? And if so, is it usually good, neutral, evil, or some combination? So Jared Woodhouse says, I align with the one of wind or nature, but I'd like to see deity conflicts where the gods spawn minions from their realm and players can watch or join the fight. Some followers may even wish to pray to enhance their god's prowess during these fights instead of joining themselves. It's a neat concept. Like the Pantheon's battling and you can help them or fight them. That'd be neat.
Well, that kind of fits in with the actual lore too. It's actually not far off from, some of the things that happened in the Deicide War, and some of the deities descended to become sort of high mortals and battled each other. So yeah, he's on the right track.
Nice. Jorgen Wickstrom says it depends on the bonuses or rewards you get from following a particular god. I've picked religions based on cloaks, titles, abilities, or general theme. It doesn't really change the way I play my character based on religion. So interesting.
Nice.
Looks at the rewards.
The clothes you get to how you look. I like this religion's look. I'm going to go with that look.
All right. Kath Clark says, it depends if the religion is woven into the perception system and being a keeper, as I'm interested in delving a lot into that. Otherwise, I would just stay neutral. What do you think of that? Would you like that to happen?
Read her response. Hold on, let me think about that again.
Do your religion have an impact on perception?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think it definitely could. I mean, if you think about, trying to think of a good example from the lore of something like that. Like when in the Tales from Keepings of Castigu, when Nerian Castigu travels with Kazus in high mortal form to go find Talnarsis, the snow dragon, he sees a door. That's how they find the door. And it could have been because he was with Kazus at the time, something like that. So yeah, I like that. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I think it makes sense if like everything your character does in the world, like for perception is like a flag, the religions that you're part of and what you do with that religion should matter. I mean, there should be flags.
I think that's something I could see them totally doing that. That sounds right in theme with what they want to do.
It would definitely make religion meaningful, so yeah. I think that's important. DM Harm says, I do. Well, if the deities or Pantheon, I'm not saying that, I'm saying LOL instead, are interesting and feel like they are entwined with the game world, EQ is a great example for it. He says, I still remember most of the gods' names because they were referred to everywhere in the game. Alignment will be dependent on my character. So,
yeah,
makes sense.
Nice.
Furious Pierre. It's been a while. Furious Pierre says, only if it gives a real bonus and not a huge loss. Going evil good sometimes means way too much of a hardship in travel and XP zones. It's interesting. Especially remember being an Ixar. Whew.
Yeah, trying to go anywhere. It was real hard to do.
Yeah. Walking Waste says, as a cleric main, I would definitely be involved within the game's religion if there is any. It'll depend on what benefits I get from good, neutral, or evil gods. I generally tend to lean towards good or neutral, though.
Yeah.
Patrick Johnson says, please make it involved. Make characters get connected with the deity they pick. Have in-world consequences for the choices. Lengthy quests associated with it. Meet your god. Become a paladin or avatar of your god. It could be so cool giving these each little twists on gameplay. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And it reminds me of something that they've talked about, because the questions come up before, like, how are you going to choose your deity in Pantheon? And what they've hinted at, and they haven't set it in stone yet, so this isn't like canon, but what they've hinted at is like, you're going to get it later on. Like, you're going to choose your religion later on. You're going to find a deity through a series of choices you have to make to get those bonuses. So it's not going to be like EQ when you selected your deity right at the beginning of character creation, right? It's going to be a later on process. So I like that idea.
Yeah, I do too. Krituk says, depends on the character. My paladin in EQ is always a paladin of Nathaniel Mar. Good thing you corrected me there. EQ fans would have been really mad. My druid was Chunar, and my warrior was Mar as well. Unless it was my barb warrior, then it was Tribunal. So yeah, I like that option. It's cool that they still remember like what they picked,
Yeah. Well, I remember mine too. Yeah, mine was Karana as well. I remember starting my ranger and having to choose that deity, and I was like, I don't know why I chose Karana, but I did.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I was agnostic all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I like that they had that option. You could be agnostic. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's what I was. Quest says in EQ, I loved making an evil gnome. I think religion to choose alignment is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, evil gnomes. Gotta love it.
And finally, Ashley says, yeah, when it's available, I pick a deity. Religion plays an important role in society, so it makes sense when building a character to choose one. I'd really like for it to have more of an impact in games than just flavor or a random or not so important buff, though. So, Derek, it sounds like a lot of the community wants this system, but only if it's meaningful. And you were kind of talking about, like they had said in the past, you might have to go on quests. You may have to become and develop your follower. Being a follower of different pantheons or religions, it's not just going to be something you necessarily pick on a menu. And it's interesting. I've played a lot of games recently where you pick like a celestial alignment. I think you do that in BDO. There's a few other games where you can do that. And like I always pick something like, especially if I'm playing a rogue that has to do with like shadows or, not being seen or thieves and kind of that like, unnoticeable, like what was Game of Thrones, the god of many faces?
The faceless, faceless god.
Like that's the one I like. That style of a god to follow is right up my alley, especially playing a rogue. But I think your class really does add kind of importance to what you're picking. Like if I wouldn't, but if I played a paladin, I would want something driven towards the light. Like I just feel like it fits my character. It's another element of my character. But I'm not saying you can't just go completely crazy and pick something opposite either. But I definitely lean towards that faceless shadow type of god.
Yeah. It's interesting when it's like if it's more than just flavor text. You know what I mean? Like if it actually has in-game effects, you always get people choosing it just for the effects or for the impact. But because if you don't know the lore, if you're not really into the lore, choosing the religion, it's just sort of a fun aside. It doesn't really mean anything. But I definitely I tend to stick to the more neutral type of gods. I don't really go for the preachy sort of cleric paladin sort of stuff. And then the evil side of things, I find that, it's just too demanding, right? You have to enslave every person you come across and torture all these people. And it's like, I don't want to do any of those things. I want to keep my options open. So I tend to go with, nature, right? Exactly. Yeah, you understand me. So I go for the nature gods.
All right. Well, two pretty fun questions. And I'm curious what everyone here thinks. What do you do with your religion? And would you kill somebody for sweet loot if they're super innocent? Get the loot. That's it for VR News and Notes.
When the Pantheon community speaks, we listen. So let's dig into the forums and fan projects to see what the discussion's all about.
Okay, so for our community discussion this week, we're going to do introductions, and we have a few fan projects. So we're going to spend our time with those. And then we'll get some further discussions. Our mailbox is actually quite full this week, so I wanted to leave room for those. So our first introduction from the community is from 13 Moons. They said, "Hail, my MMO career began with the release of Ultima. EverQuest was and remains my favorite. My necro was 13 Moons of the guild Evolutia, I think is how you say that, on the Strom server. I played many moons since EQ, but none have held the place in my heart that EQ does. I'm hopeful Pantheon can become a home for me. I had kind of given up on the genre. After backing several games, I'd been left disillusioned. With the faintest of hopes, I've been following the development of Pantheon since it was announced. The current state of the game has ignited my hope, and I finally decided to contribute back to the effort." Dalziel said, "Hi, I made my first post on the forums today, so I thought I might as well go here and do a proper greeting. Been lurking on and off since 2016, when I also pledged. Lately, been diving deeper into the hype around the game as we get closer to alpha and going through a lot of material that different content creators put out there. It's good stuff. Sometimes it's been a bumpy ride, but it seems like things are coming together. Just as many others have fond memories of EverQuest, so too do I. Started in 2001 on Antonius Bale, played for several years and been kind of to and fro since. Now they're looking for that new game, like we all are, replicate some of those things. And here's hoping to good things here and beyond. Looking forward to alpha." Immortal XPA says, "As someone has grown a fondness for MMORPGs since I was 8, I seriously have been looking for a new one.
I found out about Pantheon back in 2019, and I've been considering pledging for some time now because I absolutely adored EQ2 in the 2012 era. Even from then on, naturally the game kind of became less and less fun with more paying aspects being implemented every year. But nonetheless, it was the only MMORPG I could find that even remotely matched what I wanted. So welcome to those three folks to the community. Good to have you. Now, welcome. I got to talk about some fan projects here because these are really cool. This first one especially. Yep. I actually put pictures in our show notes here so Minus could see what I was talking about.
I saw this, yeah.
So the first one is from Ben and I. And he, as you know, I've talked about this before. He did a novel called Amensal's Shadow. It's huge. It's like 200 some odd pages. So he actually went and printed it off and put it into a leather-bound book. And I know everybody listening, you can't see the book, but you got to go to the forums and check it out. I'm a huge book lover. And when Ben and I told me he was actually putting this together, I'd forgotten he was doing that because it's been a while. But and I helped him with it a little bit. He noted that in the forums that I put it all together into a PDF, and then he's taken it from there. But you got to go over to the forums and check it out. I'm just going to read a quick piece about what he said about this. He says, so I've been working on my super novice leatherworking skills, trying to get the whole leather-bound journal sizing and finishing thing just right. I'm making 2 of them, and this was my practice copy, so I could take some lessons. It's about 240 pages, vegetable tanned leather, but the cheap stuff. It didn't turn out awesome, but it was decent for a first try. It's got some 60 weight off-white paper that I ordered that's a little greenier looking than copy paper, but it wasn't as grainy as what he wanted. And he developed a special stitching pattern to bind the pages, and it looked better in real life than it does in the picture, but it's okay, he says. So I really love that, and I'm gonna give him a shout out here. And if you want to see it, go over to the forums and check it out because it's really, really cool. Next up was our Halfling Druid party member, actually Crow Singer. She has a few names. She finished chapter 3 of an excellent fan fiction piece that she's done called Hunting in Ember. And I'll just read you one line from chapter 1 so you can get an idea of what to expect. But the line is, "The sea is no place for an elf." And if you want to know why, go over to the fan fiction forums, give all 3 chapters a read. I'm not sure if it's completed or not. I think she said it was the last chapter, but it's quite a good read. So, and I included the artwork here too. And she, I said this before, she's done a bunch of cover artwork for her fan fiction, and it's really, really nice. And then last up, if you don't know who Nemufae is, you really should, because they do Pantheon cartoons, which are very, very funny. I know, Minus, you love these.
Love them.
And in fact, Nemufae did the character artwork that you see for Minus and I in the Rewind thumbnail and a lot of other places. It's our avatar, I think, on Discord and that kind of stuff. This time, they drew some of the best moments from our dungeon crawl in Fortress Devair. It is hilarious. Nathan's I see nothing moment where he can't see what's going on, and Minus is like, it's right there in front of you. The many, many, many mispronunciations or pronunciations of Majin during the stream is in the cartoon as well. And I'll leave the rest for you to discover because it's really worth your time to go check it out. I posted the links for Nemufae's Twitter, which is where this artwork, you can find this artwork, as well as the forum links for Crow Singing's novel and Ben and I's novel as well. So go and check those out. And I'm going to give a little teaser here. I know, Minus, you said you like teasers, but I'm going to tease this out. There's Nemufae is going to be working on something else, I think. There's a Pantheon-themed children's book coming out, I think, in some point in the future, which you might enjoy.
Some point in the future.
Minus, you might know a little about that, but I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah. So. It should be hilarious. A lot of things have to come into play, so don't hold us to that, but it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility, and I think it could be a lot of fun. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, nice. And that's it for this week's community discussions.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it gets here, I just yell, mail! We're getting sued.
All right, so that's the mailbox sounder, and you're probably looking at the time and saying, wow, you guys are only like 25 minutes into the show, we're already on the mailbox. Well, it's because the mailbox this week, and Theric, you sort of alluded to this, is it's pretty jam-packed. There's a lot of questions, a lot of good questions I don't want to skip over. So I thought we'd load up the mailbox and answer some of these questions. I thought there were some really good things here. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I want to spend some time on these ones. People have been waiting for past couple of weeks because we've been busy with other stuff. So got to get their questions answered.
Yeah, there's some really good ones here. So let's get through it and spend some time on them. So the first is DM Harms. And he says, now that we've got a really solid chunk of content from the evaluation build, what would be your next ideal big Pantheon drop from Visionary Realms? Do you want to go for it? It's easy. That's an easy one for me. I'll go first if you want.
No, yeah, I'll go first. That's good because it's easy for you. I had actually had a hard time with this one. I was trying to come up with something. I think this is a question that's on a lot of people's minds. I'll say that. And you can read something into the fact that they were comfortable enough to just show off the evaluation build twice in the past few months. I think what it says to me is that we're looking at the next big event, I guess you would say, or drop, as Dustin said, is announcing a publishing partner. But I that's obviously purely speculation. I have no idea if that's what's going to happen, and it's a little bit beyond their control. Obviously, I think that would be the nice news to hear. But I don't know. I couldn't really decide. There was a few other ideas I had, but Minus, what did you have on this one?
I'm a simple man, Theric. I just want more classes put in to testing. Joppa had commented that Monk would be next after they finish the Enchanter. And then after that, a Ranger, which I'm sure you're hyped about. For me, I've said it 100 times, to me, class play is so important. It's so exciting when a class comes out or new abilities come out and you get to play it. I can't wait for, Basgrim to get to play a Cleric, for you to get to play a Ranger, for Nathan to get to play a Paladin. I almost feel greedy that, my class has been here for so long and I'm getting all this fun time testing it and showing it off. To me, yeah, it's classes for sure. I just really, and it's not even like Bard and Necro, which I know a lot of people would love to hear about the Bard. I just want to see, the things that we're reading on the webpage, the things that we've read about the classes for so long, just coming to life. I think it paints a really nice picture for the game and how the classes will work together. And I think that it probably can drive the most excitement other than VR saying, we're fully funded. We have a publisher. We got $20 million. Here we go. But I really think I'm just really excited to hear the next class implementation and, where it goes from there and just seeing these classes all fleshed out. That's really big for me.
Yeah, I think there's probably good signs in that regard too. With regard to the wizard projectiles that we saw in the evaluation build. I mean, having projectiles is important for several different classes, right? Like you think about whether it's physical range damage or magical range damage. A lot of classes have that ability, and the fact that we saw it in the evaluation build, I think, is probably a pretty good indicator that there's some progress has been made with that. But you're right. I mean, everything is about classes. Classes are whenever we do content that's class related, we see that it gets the most attention, right? So I think they'd be wise to go down the path of let's demonstrate a couple new classes in a month, this month, maybe next month and a half, we do another 2 classes and sort of build on them, get them all done. Right. So
yeah, I'd like to I know a lot of people want the world to be fleshed out and they want art to be, I'm completely fine with the world being gray boxed and they get the classes out. I just am. Yeah. I just think that you can play and test the game, whether it's alpha, whether it's whatever, pre-alpha, with having class choices and getting to experience these classes can be just as fun. And it doesn't matter if it's in a gray box or in a art design world. It doesn't matter. Not when it comes to testing a class and seeing how it works together and trying new things. To me, those elements can be done, in the content they have, or again, in a gray box world. I just don't have any issue with that. And I know that everyone wants, the world fleshed out and finished, but the classes need to be done before the world, way before the world. So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you're right.
All right. So how do you pronounce this next person's name? Shahor?
Shahor? Yeah, Shahor. I don't know.
All right. Well, if we're wrong, my apologies. So Shahor says, which financial path would you support for Pantheon the most from the perspective of a regular player? A simple buy and play with expansion drops, a subscription-based model, or free to play with cosmetic shop, or something completely different? You went first on the first one. I'll go first here. I'm not a regular player, at least from what it seems in this world. When I say the things I want to say about this topic, it's literally just people getting upset with me. But because I say what I want to say, I'm going to say it again. So I think that buying the game and the expansions and having a subscription all need to be in line. And I think that there should be a cosmetic shop as well. I think that for a team this small that needs every dollar they get, that doesn't have a lump sum of money sitting behind them, funding them into the future, at least for now, I think that all of that to me is okay. As far as the shop, I don't want experience potions. I don't want, to buy, destructive items, but I think to have certain things that are, skins, and I don't know if we still don't think there's going to be mounts, but if there are like mounts, just things like that, I think are completely fine to have in a shop, outfits and hairstyles and all that kind of stuff I think would be cool. So that's my personal opinion. That's how I would do it, kind of everything all in one. But I know a lot of people don't like cosmetic shops and stuff like that if they're paying a sub and buying expansions, but it's kind of what WoW does. I mean, so it works. I don't know. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I took this question. I focused in on one aspect of this question, and part of it was asking about from the perspective of a regular player, and from a regular player's perspective and not the company's perspective, I've been pretty clear here that the buy to play with subscription alone is the best option from a consumer's perspective. You get the most value from that with that business model. Is it the model that makes the most money for the company? No, it's not. Free to play options and cash shops and stuff like that make a ton of money. That's why they've proliferated the way they have. But for a regular player, I mean, if you're talking about what's most advantageous to you, in my opinion, it's the buy to play subscription. Now, you could make the argument that the game will be around longer if it's more profitable, and you could make that argument. But then again, what are you prolonging, right? Like, what kind of a game are you prolonging? Is it something that is worth being around for that long? So I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole here, but I just think I think it's been shown that in where you get the most value in MMOs as a consumer from a player perspective is the buy to play and subscription model. But I don't know.
I agree with you. So here's the thing. If there's not a subscription, I've found that I can't get into games. Like if it's not subscription based, then there's like this psychological side of subscribing that makes me want to keep playing.
Sure.
And I need that, right? But I also like to be able to give a company I really enjoy, a little bit more money. And, like I said, I did that with Bleed and Soul. I don't regret it. And it was ridiculous. I spent way too much. I stopped because I said, okay, this is enough. Not because I was, embarrassed or not because I regretted it, but I got to the point when I said, it's enough. That's all. Yeah. And I don't want it to be like Bleed and Soul, but I do just like the option of like fun. People are going to get so mad, but like Bleed and Soul had loot boxes. And you would buy loot boxes and you had a shot to get like special event costumes and weapon skins and even some in-game items. Like you could get like special jewels to put into your swords and stuff that you could get in-game, but they were specialized a little bit or had a little bit something different that you could get there. You could get like materials and crafting stuff to upgrade your weapons. So it was a little bit more pay to win for sure. It was. And I was a beast because of it. I don't want it to get to that level, but I didn't even hate that, like it was fun to me. I'm a gambler. See, that's what a lot of people I don't think understand is as a gambler, someone who bets on sports, someone who goes to the casino and loves to play roulette and Pai Gow poker and, all that stuff. I have a deep thrill in doing that. And I could either go to a casino and do that, or if I could do it in my favorite game, that's kind of fun to me. Again, do I think it's the best for everybody? No, it's not. And do I want to force it on people? No, not at all. But it's just something I enjoy because I'm a gambler. And I think that people who aren't into gambling probably don't get that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, I'm not a gambler, so I don't get the same thrill from it. I like what you said about the subscription thing though, about keeping you mentally invested because, to stay invested in a game these days is really hard. There's just so many out there. We have so many choices and options, and I sit down on my computer and I can play one of any game that I want for very little money. And it's like I'm not always going to love the MMO I'm currently playing right now. There's going to be highs and lows with it. But if I'm paying a subscription and I'm invested in it, I think I'm more likely to continue to play it. Right. And
what also keeps some of the dredge out.
Yeah, it does keep the dredge out for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you don't want that. You don't want the people who are just there to, I don't know,
log in and give a hard time. Yeah.
Yeah, and just be trolls and that kind of stuff. Like it's a little bit of a filter. So yeah, I support that business model a lot.
Yep. Next question here is from Gulu Gulu. He says, now that you've had some time to review and think about the recent gameplay session, what surprised you the most? What would you do differently next time? How about you, Thek?
Yeah, this is a good one. I've reflected on this quite a bit because, first of all, if everybody's watched my videos, you'll know what a technical idiot I am. And I didn't capture my game footage properly. That mistake won't happen again because I was severely disappointed in myself for that mistake. It was really something that, you make that mistake once, you live and learn, and it never happens again. So I will definitely be a little bit more tech savvy next time with my recording, if I get the opportunity again. But the other part that I do regret is that I wanted to be more conversational with the lore pieces that I discovered. I found that I started off for a while sort of, doing that a little bit, but then I didn't put the lore that I found in context enough. And I think that would have been kind of helpful for people to sort of say, oh, okay, and this is what this is talking about, or this is a reference to this. I had that in my notes actually ahead of time to do something like that. And then I just got too immersed and I sort of lost myself a little bit in it and didn't fully explore that as much as I wanted to. So I think next time, if I get the opportunity, that's what I'd be focused on. What about you?
Well, what surprised me the most is how clean it was. There was, I don't remember any bugs. Maybe I'm crazy. I can't think of any. No. Yeah. I think someone said a spell wasn't working, but it wasn't a spell I had. So like for me, I didn't have any play bugs. I didn't see any NPC bugs. I didn't see any pathing bugs. All my skills seemed to work. I'm trying to think if there were any. I think the only bug that we saw was that we couldn't use the officer accommodations to buy the armor.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah. Joppa was like, they just discovered it that morning.
And fixed it, but it was too late to like patch it all up. Right. So it was just, it really surprised me how clean it was. It surprised me how quick almost 4 hours went by. I wanted more, even in that small environment where we got to see the bosses. We, fought the Grave Mother, which no one had seen before. Between all of us, we discovered quite a bit, but nobody discovered everything. Right. It was really cool to, having picked the Assassin's Guild and then getting to do the Dire Lord quest was really neat for me. And it makes me wonder, like, what would have happened if I picked other, rogue groups and where maybe the story would have taken me. So, I mean, it's funny. Yeah.
Next time, I funny you should mention that because that was one of the things I wanted to see. That choice where you had the Assassin's Guild and hidden something and then the Dark Traders. I wanted to see what the Dark Traders said. So I went into that area thinking I could select that. I'd have that conversation. But because I was a wizard, I wasn't offered that conversation choice. So when I saw, I didn't realize it, but at the time then we were playing and you said later on, oh, I chose the Assassin's Guild. I was thinking, oh, I should have told them to pick the Dark Traders so I could see what the lore piece from the Dark Traders was. But next time.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I mean, there was a lot in that little build. Like they did a really good job. And there's a lot more that we didn't get to see too. And there's some that we didn't get to show. So, I mean, it was pretty impressive in an evaluation build to be like, no, I want to keep playing this. Like there's a lot more to do,
Exactly.
So it paints a really good picture for me that when they're going to be showing this to publishers, some people have doubted it. And some people say that it looks too single player or it looks too, a lot of people have said Elder Scrolls-esque, but it wasn't. Like you play it, it's not. The play is leaps and bounds better than it looks. And I thought it looked good too. So
I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on the same page.
The next question here is from Galeth Bonepeeler. He says, what about the crafting did you like? What about did you not like? Do you have any lingering questions about the process? Eric?
Yeah, it was pretty basic. I did my little cooking. I didn't do the crafting like you did. You'll probably have a lot more to say on this one, but I think it's a good template for what they want to do. Make crafted, at least the food that I made was useful. Stat bonuses. We know stats are going to be very important in this game and play a big role. So I like how they did it with that. It was pretty basic. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say on it, but your experience was much more thorough, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's cool. It's so from a weaponsmithing standpoint, I really actually enjoyed it. And yes, it is at a simple aspect, but there's something neat about taking the raw material and then putting the dust into it to make it a special raw material. And then using the special raw material in like a template or in like a mold to make, for example, the dagger like I did, which only took one. And then you come up with this, okay, now I have this special dagger blade. And now, okay, I got to put it on a hilt. And I just use generic hilts, but I may have even been able to make, a better hilt with the dust. And now I have, a hilt with dust, and then I have a blade with dust. I put them together. Now I got this weapon that's double stats and maybe even stronger. So it's funny because I keep wondering what better dagger could I have made? Because you guys know at this point, I mean, I can't say enough. I love weapons. I love daggers and being a rogue. And so just sort of having a little bit of wonder in like how I could build this thing was cool. What didn't I like, or I didn't like how strong they were, but I did because it was fun in the demo to be pretty. I mean, in all fairness, I super outpowered you guys because of those two daggers. The original dagger was a 5 DPS. That was a 7.9. And I had 3 strength on it. And strength is my damage modifier. That's huge. I put 2 strength in to start. Just that item gave me an extra 3. Upped my DPS from 5 to 7.9. That's huge on both hands. So that was really cool. But what we saw, and Neff, if you're listening, I know what you're doing here. We killed the Grave Mother and it dropped a dagger. Well, that dagger was 7.9, same as my dagger. And instead of having 3 strength, it had like 1 strength. And I'm making this up. It had like 1 strength, 2 stam, and then like 2 haste, which by the way, 2 haste is interesting, right? Interesting. But it was similar in strength, but had different stats. And I'm like, oh, I wanted this to be an upgrade. So again, this is a base level. It's evaluation build. I wouldn't take a lot into what the balance looks like to get a boss drop versus that. But they keep talking about this drops and crafted being in the same realm. And I won't lie, I was a little disappointed when I looted that Grave Mother dagger. Got super excited, saw a dagger drop, and then I'm like, oh, mine might be better.
It's interesting because that happened, because that was basically exactly one of the concerns that you had voiced previously. When we talked about crafting and how it fits into the game overall and big picture stuff, is that, it was, it was a bit of an anticlimax, right? To find that dagger and have it sort of be what you already had. So yeah, I can see what you're saying.
And again, it's early on. I mean, it really means nothing from a balance level, but in that little play session, that's what I felt. So
yeah, it's a good lesson for VR to take, right? It's a good learning point.
Like that end of the stream, killing a boss we've never seen before, dropping a dagger for me, could have literally been like the coolest thing in the world. And it was cool, but the fact that it wasn't better than what I had was kind of like,
yeah. Sort of a buzzkill.
Yeah, a little bit. It was still cool. John Wayne says he has a few parts to this question. It's a pretty big question. John Wayne says, as the current token modern MMO, World of Warcraft, seems to have continued its trend of gaining a lot of gamers and revenue during expansion launch, only to hemorrhage 41% of their player base and 61% of their revenue, according to Super Data, after the last expansion. So first, what do you think's the reason for this trend? I'll start. I think that players are just too quick to get through content. And I'm sorry, nobody's able to stop that. The only way to stop it is making it so hard that you can't. And then you're going to lose people because it's hard. It's this weird thing. Like if it's super hard and people can't progress fast enough, will they quit anyway? And will the numbers that quit from it being hard be equivalent to the people who quit because they get through it all? That is something I don't know. But I would think you would lose more who get through it than more who would quit because it's hard. What do you think?
Educated guess, like they say. It speaks to me of a social cohesion kind of issue. I don't know. I think that there's a lack, because again, as a non-WoW player, I can't speak to this from personal experience, but from everything I've heard, it's not a game that's encouraging the social gameplay as much as it used to. And I think when you do that, people get in, they do the thing, and then they don't really have a reason to stick around because there's no reason to. They're not meeting new people. They're not making forming new relationships and bonding with people. That would be my guess, but it's just a guess.
Yeah, the interesting part is that, playing WoW, we would get the expansion. We'd stay up 24 hours straight. We would literally get a sleeping pattern the night before. So like me, Haya, and a few of our guild last time when BFA came out, we played the night before. We played Diablo 3. We did a full playthrough. And we stayed up till like, I don't know, 10 a.m., something like that. Maybe noon, and then went to sleep so we could wake up right before the expansion launched and then play 24 hours. That was like our plan. And I know that's crazy, but that's what we did. And it was fun. The problem is that within 24 hours, 48 hours, we leveled through the content. Right. So now we're at endgame, right? And I like endgame, but we got to endgame in 2 days. So to me, if that leveling process is longer, and if there's more to do there and there's more to see there instead of just leveling and finishing, I think that that's a big key to make these expansions last longer, because within 2 days, everyone's ready for endgame, and then you're waiting on patches for endgame. So what people do is they do endgame, and then the raids launch, and they finish the raid, and then they abuse the raid, and then they finish it at the highest level, and they have it on farm, and everyone gets their items, and then a lot of people quit, because then you wait 3 months, 4 months, and now the next raid tier comes out, and then everybody resubscribes because there's more content to do. So really, it's just this lack of content. And I think that where WoW really hurts themselves is they make the leveling so quick that all that content's just gone. I think Pantheon needs, and it kind of goes into the next question, what can VR take away from this is, if you're going to do an expansion, first of all, and people aren't going to like this, if you're going to do a real expansion that's going to keep people around, it better have leveling in it. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, I don't want to keep having my level go up. Like, if you play a year of Pantheon and people are getting to max level, which they will easily in a year, you better have at least 5 more levels to get. And those 5 levels better be hell. If you release an expansion and it doesn't have more levels to get, unless you advance the mastery system, which includes some sort of leveling, you can't do we're just going to release a new area and not level, because the leveling, then you're WoW. Like, you're basically WoW because you're not leveling anymore. Like, leveling needs to be hard and long. Like, if it takes somebody, 6 months to get to max level in Pantheon, then it should take another 6-7 months to get those next 5 levels. Right. That's how they should do it, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, you want to tier it, right? Like, you want to make it so it seems like not necessarily more difficult, but it should be considered the next tier of the adventure, right? Like, so I've gotten to max level in the base game. The expansion comes out. Now I need to get even better. I need to ascend to the next tier of the game, and that's where this lives, right? I don't know. I guess, if people are just going through the content that fast, I also think there's something to be said for it becoming so formulaic, right? Like, I feel like, again, as a non-WoW person, but just following the news, it seems like they very much follow a pattern with their expansions of how they do it, what the expected, what's expected in it, how it looks, how it breaks down between, story and content. I don't know. So I guess maybe just breaking the trend is something that VR can take away from that, is don't make every expansion the same formula. Keep it fresh, do different things. Don't be afraid to do interesting and new things. That's what I'd like to say.
It's a couple of things. So, the last piece of this is, he says, what do you think Pantheon has shown so far that's going to make it different? So here's a couple of things that are really important. World of Warcraft, I go into a dungeon. It's instanced. I love it, but I run it 100 times and I get my item and I'm done with it. There's no other reason to go in there again. I'm not getting experience. I'm not getting items I can sell. I'm getting nothing unless I'm getting some sort of token system in a higher level version of it, whatever it is, right? A couple pieces of gear here and there. It's a very big difference to me to have an open world dungeon, because it's a few reasons. One, we can go sit in there for a long time. We can get mastery experience. We can sit there. We can farm it. We have repops. We're looking around. It's a very different experience and it's very social. The other piece of it, though, is that we could go, Theric, and go into a dungeon for a month and just farm really rare items and then come out of there rich and sell it all. That's something you can't do in the modern MMORPG right now because items are soulbound in almost every game. So you can't just go farm a random spawn area with different timers and stuff for a chance at really rare stuff that you can go make a fortune off of. It's kind of that whole like Indiana Jones dungeon crawler, like search for treasure thing that it's just not in many MMORPGs right now. And I think that that's going to be a big reason people stay, because going back and doing dungeons or doing a dungeon over and over again isn't just this no reason to do it thing. You can earn money. And to me, that's huge, because otherwise I'd only earn money with crafting or playing the market and that kind of stuff. And that stuff doesn't excite me. But being a treasure hunter, that's freaking awesome.
Well, exactly. And it goes to item rarity too, right? Like, you remember when we were playing EverQuest 2, we were in that one area, and remember who it was we were talking to Hoye, and he said, oh, that fisherman guy, he never drops anything. I've killed him 100 times. He never drops anything. We go and kill him, and he drops
a dagger.
Yeah, of course, everything's a dagger. Why are they these mobs? They only drop daggers, it seems. Anyway, different discussion. But yeah, no, and Hoye's like, holy cow, I've killed that guy thousands of times. He's never dropped that. You got to do stuff like that. You want people to, stay with the content. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a grind and it's going to take time, but the fact that that it exists and it can drop at some point, it will drop. That's something that I think, I think EQ did a good job with that. Obviously, that's my framework for this, is thinking EQ, but I'd like to see that in Pantheon too. So, yeah,
I think that's a big difference. So we have two more questions, one sort of for me and one sort of for you. So the first one for me is from Thev Sonata. They say that, hey, Minus, do you still stick to your video about the best race class combos? I'm surprised you didn't give Darkmere a chance on your rogues with their stealth increases and perception skill bonus for sniffing out hidden treasure, where a rogue would go wandering. So do I still stick with them? Yes. Will it change soon? Yes. If we get active abilities, it could change. I forget who I rated second for rogue. Did I give Elf the second for rogue and give them hype? Because I know the one form of elves was pretty good. They had like agility modifiers and stuff. Yeah. No, for me, personally, I have to understand a little bit how the dagger plus daggers is going to work for halfling. So if you can get to 250 with a weapon skill, but a halfling can get to 255, that's insane. Because one of the things that's hard when you're fighting a boss that's like a level or two higher than you is that you have a hard time hitting it because it's 2 levels higher than you. Your skill doesn't go higher. But if a halfling can actually hit like a mob that's 1 or 2 levels higher at an equal level with their weapon skill, that's a big deal. So good. So again, I don't know if it's just going to be one of those things that I start at 5 and until I get to 250, like I get to 250 1 or 2 levels early, and then that's my max. If that's the case, then halflings, they look cool. They have a cool background. They have the potion thing. So there's some of that. But yeah, you're right. If that's the case and I can't get to 255 or 260, then Darkmere is awesome. Number one, they can swim underwater without drowning. That's huge. I mean, imagine stealthing underwater and sneaking around. That's great. And then they have, like you said, the stealth bonuses. So those are things that are incredible. And I haven't rolled out Darkmere yet. Especially when they showed the newer models of them, I was really into them. So I don't want to say that I don't stick to what I said so far, but it will change once we get a little more info, probably. I don't know if all of them will change, but some will probably. But yeah, Darkmere do look like very good rogues for sure.
It's funny. So, I would have a hard time imagining you as anything but a halfling now. You've played it every time, and that little top knot. And a
bunch of people said you better not have a top knot when this game goes live.
I think you need a top knot and the beard and the whole everything. I think
that's the thing too. If halflings can't have beards, I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe by then I'll be all clean shaven. Who knows? And then Theric, for you, because I really can't answer this, Ben and I said in the stream there was only one time I really remember it audibly being expressed that you all need to stop to med. Obviously in Pantheon the casters aren't sitting like ever during fights, but are active. The stream showed plenty of times where the mana pools were low for Baz and Ronick, but y'all could talk a little bit about the mana regen or spells, or could you talk about the overall pacing that you felt? Was it too easy, too hard? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question, and he's right. We didn't really have to stop and met up for too many times. But so the thing is that the wizard that I was playing has the ability to actively regenerate their mana in combat by casting the Arcane Focus spell. Arcane Burst, I believe, is the name of it. So what I was trying to do at the end of every fight was, as the mob was about to die, like 10% of their health left, that's what I would cast, and I would build up my focus on the focus wheel to get 5 consecutive Arcane Focus points. That way my mana regen would continue after the fight was over. So the wizard doesn't really need to do it. If you fight with that strategy or take that approach, you don't really need to sit down to met up at much. But Baz and Ronak didn't have that ability. They didn't have. You heard at one point in the stream, Ronak asks if battle meditation is in, and it wasn't. So they didn't have that option.
But they had cannibalize, right? Like some sort of cannibalize. Yeah.
Yeah, they did have cannibalize, and I'm not 100% familiar with how that works exactly because I haven't tried the shaman. But I found that the pacing was actually good. I kind of I've been a proponent of saying you should be slow and everybody should have to sit down and med and that kind of thing. But I have to admit that it was nice to sort of keep going at a brisk pace. When we were able to do that, I think that the pacing was actually really good. I have to say. I felt like we didn't have to stop and wait too much for them to get their mana back. And I liked the wizard as well. I have to say that I liked how it felt being able to control my mana pool very precisely. I mean, I'm sacrificing damage when I do that, obviously, because I'm not casting direct damage spells.
And then you let the rogue beat you.
Yeah, you and your daggers. You had my number all day. But I feel like it was a good compromise sometimes, and when we play Pantheon for real, it's not going to be like this. We're not on a time limit where we have to try and get to a certain point. You're with your group, you can go for an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. Stop and take a break, or you can just camp a certain area, and that's your plan for the night, is just to camp that one item and that one mob. So I didn't find it too easy or too hard. I kind of liked the way it was, actually.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody for some amazing questions in the mailbox this week. Keep them coming. We love it. You filled up a great portion of our show for us today. I love answering questions like this and getting into some of the theory talk with Eric, not just off air, but on air. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. And as always, please keep submitting questions, whether you follow us on Twitter, Discord, wherever you are, submit those questions for the rewind. And that's it for the mailbox.
Sit back and relax. It's time for The Lore You Know.
Okay, so on the last episode, we spoke about that cool moment when I looked out the window at Fortress d'Avair and I saw a creature. And there's been quite a bit of interest in that moment since. So we are going to talk today about lycanthropes from the lore. And this is taken directly from the lore that used to be on the website. It's not there anymore. But this is what J.N. Gerhardt, Pantheon's lead writer, said about lycanthropes. Quote, today, lycandral, nightwolves, and the subsequent less intelligent werewolf all have similarly poor reputation amongst most people groups. They are hated and hunted, most often due to the vile deeds of the nightwolves and their animalistic morality of werewolves. Yet the hardness of lycandral hearts toward common mortals has not given fearful outsiders a reason to treat each lineage of lycanthrope as distinct from one another. A wolf is a wolf. This has created a survivalist mindset in all lycanthrope, which suits their reclusive preferences and has kept lycandral encounters to a minimum. Yet, the peoples of Terminus rarely abide, even by the most passive of threats. Nightwolves are truly ghastly creatures with no regard for innocent life. Werewolves, who cannot transform on demand as lycandral or nightwolves can, are nonetheless ruthless and impulsive predators. A deplorable secondary effect of the presence of these creatures has been a broader distrust amongst common mortals, and in some cases, bloodthirsty panic. Several cities have fallen prey to unfounded paranoia, and the term Drell cleanses becomes synonymous with harvest and the early onset of winter. Here, the mania that can attend myth-making is on full display, as lycandral are often blamed for everything, from poor crops to an early frost. They're often accused of carrying diseases and spreading cursed blood, which has merit perhaps. Yet many innocents have perished from zealous, fearful mortals. There persists a strong belief that burning with the fire or drowning a Drell would force the accused to shift into lycandral form to escape before death.
In these instances, the fate of the falsely accused is worse than that of the guilty. For true Lycandrel, however, there's little concern for the affairs of other mortals. And though it would seem that Lycus's dream was dealt a death blow at Shadir when utterly buried by the celestial boundary, there is evidence that his wilderness yet walks up within the living. And that's the lore you know.
Awesome. Thanks once again, Theric, for an awesome lore piece. I know everyone loves that. And we're going to end it with a small announcement here. Well, before we even get to that, don't forget, next Rewind should be, as long as everything goes well, we should be talking to Jan. So, Theric, I hope you're excited for that.
Super excited. No amount of back pain will keep me from that. We'll survive. We'll do it.
That's awesome. So yeah, next Rewind will probably not be a standard Rewind. So everyone knows you'll be hearing that exclusive interview. If it's longer, maybe 2 parts. But what we wanted to share is not just that today. A lot of exciting things. We had the evaluation build excitement. We got to announce the J.N. Gerhardt excitement, the interview, and we have one more. So we told you we had some fun things to talk about in regards to the draft. So here you go. Here's a lot of details. First, our 2021, which is now going to be annual, Dungeon Group Draft will take place on Thursday night, April 15th. That's, again, a Thursday, 9 o'clock will start. This year, we're going to go a little bit bigger with it. So we're going to be drafting 5 teams instead of 4. This year's drafters will be Nathan Napalm, Drac, and myself. But we have a bigger surprise for everyone that we have official confirmation that Visionary Realms will be joining us to draft a team. Now, you'll be finding out in the future here who will be representing them, but we're really excited for them to be a part of this year, as last year's draft was just hilarious, and we hope everyone will join us to be a part of this one as well. We'll also be bringing back the community team, and this year Breakout will be joining that team as the captain. Now, he's going to be spending most of his time in the green room, where you can join. Anybody can join the green room who wants to, and you guys can debate and bicker over who should be the next person picked, and then join together to make your pick so Breakout can announce it to our announcer once again, which will be Theric. So he'll be announcing the draft picks, any trades that take place, and all the fun. Now, I want to give a huge shout out here because honestly, this entire second version of this draft has really been headed up by Drac. He's put a ton into this event. He's making new magic cards that you guys probably love from last time that kind of gave a little flavor to each draft pick. We have new people that are draftable that he's reached out to in the community. It's just, he's made interface stuff. He's done a lot. And end of the day, I just can't tell you how excited I am for this. So keep in touch with us on Twitter as we make some more announcements around the show in the near future. But Theric, anything to add to that?
No, man. I've seen the work that Drax put in, and you guys, you're going to be blown away. It's incredible. He's taken it to the next level. And I got to work on my announcer voice. I got to get back in the draft announcer mode. I really enjoyed doing it last year. It's a lot of fun. This is a good time. I mean, just go back and watch that video from last year if you're not sure what we're talking about, or if you just want to relive that good memory, because man, we had so much fun. So yeah, let's get our draft on.
Yep. It'd be really fun. I hope you guys can make it out for that. It's a little bit longer of a show, but it's super interactive. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of laughs. I was literally in pain from laughing last show. Like I had, my ribs hurt, my stomach hurt, everything, but it was a great time. So, but we're excited. That's coming very soon, April 15th. Thank you, Drac. And thank you to VR for being a part of this. Hopefully you don't regret it. But yeah, we'll see who's going to pick. We don't know. It's going to be a surprise. Who knows? Maybe they may pick as a team. We never know. So everybody, thank you so much for another great episode of The Rewind. Thank you to everybody who supports us. And as always, thank you to Theric, even more so for toughing it out to be here with us today, Theric. And stay tuned, guys. More to come.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Pantheon Plus Rewind. Be sure to follow Minus and all Pantheon Plus related content on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube under the name Pantheon Plus. Also, be sure to follow Theric at Pantheon Theric on Twitter. Keep up to date on all Pantheon Rise of the Fallen information on www.pantheon.plus, the definitive source for all media of Pantheon. Until next time.